cool. How many are not from Colorado?
Rise of the humans.
Have fun. Creativity, strategic thinking, problem solving.
Hello everyone. Hi. So we're going to talk about how Slack and Salesforce can improve your field operations. And we're going to start by thanking our vendors and sponsors. I guess they're called sponsors. So thank you to all of them. Yes, the applause. Round of applause for those for helping us out. Thanks. Okay, so really quick, my name is Regina Ocwieja. I'm a CEO and co-founder at Centro, a Slack and Salesforce integration tool. Along with me is Jasmine.
Hey, I'm Jasmine. I'm the COO of Local Vacation Rentals, and we're a vacation rental company using Centro.
All right, so we're going to do a little bit more introductions, and then we're going to talk about Local VR's field operation use case and how they leverage Slack and Salesforce to improve their business processes. Jasmine's going to talk even further about the impact that this has had on their business and the success they've seen. And then we're going to touch on a few other field operations use cases that we have implemented at Centro and the successes we've seen there. So Centro is a Salesforce ISV founded in 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic. We're a leader in the Slack and Salesforce integration space. And our customers love us for our Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, and our use cases around custom objects and other ISV tools. What you see here is a little bit of our functionality, which is our record block that can post in Slack and drive additional business processes in Salesforce.
Awesome, and we're Local Vacation Rentals. I'm the CEO of Local VR. We're located in 3 main destinations as a vacation rental property management company. So we started in Breckenridge as kind of our main sort of branch. I live in Denver full-time. Our office is in Denver as well, so we're Colorado-based. And we expanded to Park City and Lake Tahoe over the last couple of years. So we're now about 350 properties across those 3 main locations. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the story of how we kind of landed on Centro as kind of the connectivity piece for us on our tech stack. Early this year, just due to the sheer size and volume that our company had grown to, we decided to adopt Salesforce. I'm curious, in the audience, I'm assuming everybody here is a Salesforce user for the most part. What about Slack? Well, good, like lots of Slack heavy users. And then for the folks in the audience, do you guys have a component in your company of like ground ops or field ops or crews that you're sending to physical locations? Kind of a mix. So in our space, we manage vacation rentals, right? And so I'm sure you've been users of vacation rentals, Airbnb, Booking.com, VRBO, kinds of destinations. And so we're kind of this hybrid model of all of the back-end technology that enables managing a short-term rental, guest communication, rates and pricing, the actual transaction itself, communicating how to get into the home and how to enjoy the home and enjoy your destination. So we have a very large kind of technology backend that powers a lot of that infrastructure. But inevitably, we're managing homes. So we need to run a lot of ground crews to make sure the homes are well maintained, they're clean, they're stocked, et cetera. We have been on Slack since like 2015. And when I suggested we adopt Salesforce early this year, my whole company panicked. Not another app, right? Like not one more thing that we have to open up and we have to learn and we have to do. So I'll show you a little bit of a preview of what the before was like for us. I know the screen's not super huge for those in the back, but we'd be running probably 30, 40, 50 different Slack channels across all of our different crews, their functions and their locations. And it would be kind of a never-ending scroll of every problem our crews were running into throughout the day. And so if you have someone kind of real-time addressing every problem every minute of the day, you can manage it on Slack alone. But we were getting to the point where these projects were very large, right? And so losing the history, losing the threading, losing like who handled what was becoming a major issue for us. But we didn't want to move off of Slack. Like Slack was it's just in our blood. We love it. You know, we're not a Teams kind of company. And so when we found Centro, it was actually this perfect opportunity to keep our teams using Slack as kind of the beginning of a workflow, the ability to kind of escalate an issue or triage an issue together live. That real-time communication is really important. But the executive team and the management team was starting to lose sight of like what needed done that we talked about yesterday and the week before that we now have like lost in terms of visibility on Slack. And I think for all of you, you know this, but the move to Salesforce was really important and critical to us because it just became that main single source of truth, that main database, that main CRM, like all of the reasons that you move over. Slack's none of those things. And we were just kind of using it as we were growing kind of as a crutch. So after Centro, this is just to kind of give you an idea of what a ground ops case might look like. One of the challenges when our team was reporting issues on Slack is I'm at the home and the Wi-Fi's not working. Well, what home are you at? What is the data so that we can triage that issue? And one of the benefits of Centro is it actually streamlines a form for your crew to fill out both on their mobile phone or on their web app, depending on the use case. For us, we actually have far more use cases than just the ground ops, but if you can imagine a crew at the property, they're on their mobile phone for the most part. So it's gotta be easy for them to open up and start filling out data from a form. No one likes forms, but what's really cool about Centro is it's starting to pre-fill the data from Salesforce. So for us, you didn't have to guess the address or the name of the property or any kind of IDs that we would need to kind of link data together. And I'm showing you here in this dropdown it's kind of a drop-down list of all of the available properties in your market or in our database. And that alone actually substantially improved our response time, right? Because it wasn't, where are you and what's going on? We actually had all that data at our fingertips the minute you submitted a case. So after you submit, everything's still on Slack, right? So this widget is still there, and you can see we're actually handling it in the thread, and all of the data, it's kind of now a clean schema, right? It's very consistent for the rest of our crews to see what's going on, whether it's at a property, whether it's our guest services issues, and just kind of like at a glance, really being able to understand like the priority of that new ticket. Part of our business is that you're gonna have hundreds of tickets submitted every day. I mean, if we have 350 properties, we're taking thousands of reservations, you know, in the matter of a year. So every hour, there are complaints, there are issues, but the ability to triage them effectively based on priority and based on like the actual information provided to us has been really important. And then I think my next screenshot shows this is the thread, right? So Fred and Patty, who are very afraid to move to Salesforce, they're actually giving us data right now in Salesforce, they just don't know it, right? So they're communicating, they're handling it. Fred went ahead and delivered the coffee maker. Patty actually closed the case inside Slack, but in the background, all of that was actually getting logged in Salesforce for us. So I think my next screenshot actually demonstrates, and again, it's small for those in the back, this is a Salesforce case. So everything from Centro is creating Salesforce cases for us, and you can see the same exact data now populated on the case. And then I think my next screenshot demonstrates the threading capabilities, right? So Fred, who told us the coffee maker was delivered, is now also appearing in our Salesforce case, the same exact Slack communication and Slack thread. So we're no longer like losing that context, right? Like if a client wants to know what exactly happened at their property on a particular day, I don't need to go scroll back on Slack or control find endlessly for that evidence, right? It's all actually being stored in a unique thread on that case. And again, my team, for the most part, their workflows haven't changed, right? They can still use Slack to their heart's content. So for us, that was like really helpful to bridge that gap of like such a large CRM adoption, like making sure the data's clean, the data's accurate, the data's actioned, but not ripping away one of our team's like favorite tools to use. So yeah, before I kind of talk impact, I'd love to answer any questions. We're about to implement the field services mobile app. My team's very scared about that, but that's kind of the evolution for us. So we're using cases now, we'll eventually use work orders, where the case kind of is still the parent object, and then the work order is kind of that dispatched, like actual activity. And for those that have done Salesforce build-outs before know it just takes a lot of time and it's a lot of money to get that spun up, but that's actually our project this quarter.
Yep.
About 70% of them. So there's a few, like our virtual assistant team, our guest services team, doesn't need to be in Salesforce every single day. And so this helps us reduce license counts in Salesforce. Like the people who are kind of creating the objects and updating the objects, you want to make sure they have a license and that activity is like preserved. But a lot of our users just needed visibility, right? Like into what's going on. And so I don't actually need to have everyone licensed in Salesforce to achieve this.
Yep, so I'll make 2 quick comments in addition to that. So Centro also has a field service mobile component where you can embed Slack in the field service mobile app as well. And we also, when it comes to the licensing part, that's actually a big advantage to using the Centro tool is a lot of folks will have, let's say, their whole company's on Slack, but only the folks solving the cases are in Salesforce. So they can create cases using an automation user, see that visibility and that back and forth, even update a handful of fields in Salesforce without having a Salesforce license to sort of manage that balance and manage costs.
And that was really important to us when we adopted Salesforce, was just the price tag. And so Centro really helped us kind of bridge that gap of like getting all of our users kind of in the MVP stage, but keeping the licensing costs relatively low on Salesforce. Anyone else have other questions?
Am I hearing that correctly? So a case can initiate in Salesforce and then we'll communicate back to Slack user?
Yeah,
That's
both
right.
ways actually. And we use both use cases. So our primary use case is if you're in the field, you're going to open up Slack and fill out the form there because that's what our team's used to. But we have other use cases that if a client signs a contract with us, so we have a new property that actually starts in Salesforce because our sales team has like converted that lead and that opportunity. And then it posts to Slack with the Centro widget that's like, now begin onboarding, right? Like now, like how do you implement this client? So for us, it goes both ways. Awesome. Let me just review. I think I've certainly communicated kind of the, our team was very hesitant to adopt Salesforce. So this for us was like a really awesome bridge to get there and for us to unlock all of the potential of Salesforce, right? So like that integration just being as seamless as it is and as it has been like really instrumental for us on just, having all of the right activities stored in Salesforce and having that like data at our fingertips. That's been really insightful for growing our team and better triaging issues. We were losing track of maintenance issues, right? We were just having upset clients, upset guests. So that certainly helped a lot. And again, it helps us prioritize our days every day and every hour to make sure we're like most effectively triaging issues. And then, at the end of the day, my executive team is very happy, right? We have reports, we have dashboards, we have SLAs, we have data. None of those things were possible before we adopted Centro. Cool.
Okay, I'm going to take the next 5 minutes and touch on a couple other use cases that fit this model, but that are a little bit different. The first one is a customer called Booster Fuel. So they're a fuel delivery system. So you have a fleet of trucks and you need fuel and you don't want to have them have to get gas everywhere. And what they were looking for is a way to build pipeline by using these drivers who are already on Slack. And so in a very similar way to creating a case, they're creating accounts and leads, right? You imagine a fuel delivery system is going into an industrial part of the neighborhood. They see other trucking companies in other places and they say, hey, maybe we can try to reach out to them and deliver. And so they can create the lead, again, using that automation user to drive cost effectiveness and then post that record to the channel. And what's really one of the key pieces was providing that visibility to the drivers that, hey, you took the 30 seconds it took to fill out this form and now watch as this lead gets worked and a deal gets closed based on your efforts, right? Everyone wants to be part of a team. Everyone wants to drive the success of the business. And this provides that visibility and drives additional actions and additional leads to be created because they're seeing that success. The other use case here is more similar to what Jasmine went over, but with restoration hardware, they have an active POC. You're getting furniture delivered to a particular location. Either you want to prove that the furniture was delivered correctly, undamaged, or unfortunately, damage was made and a wall was dinged. And instead of having these delivery teams go back to their truck, open up a laptop, VPN in, and create these cases, using Centro, they can, again, pop the form, create the case, and then even send images back and forth and have those images be automatically uploaded to that case record. So that way you have an exact picture of what the damage is, and then have repairs go through. We've also had this work in other cases where repairs are being made. Okay, you hired the maintenance team to go out, take a picture of the fix, so that way we have a full record of that life cycle to make sure that the customer is happy and we have evidence that we hit the right pinpoints and milestones in that delivery. We're capturing all of those timestamps so we can then report on that and say, okay, what's our average time to repair? What's our average time to delivery? All that type of information. Okay, that is the quick demonstration. Thank you so much for the questions throughout. Happy to ask and answer more questions here. Yes.
Talk about training of the product in Slack. I imagine one of the great advantages is it's a lot easier probably to train people really quick on Slack than it would be getting anybody inside of Salesforce and getting up to speed. Has that been an obstacle, or is that something where you guys find a really good selling point?
Yeah, absolutely. Most folks really enjoy using Slack, and actually one of the things that we've noticed is especially with like RevOps teams, is RevOps teams always push do everything in Salesforce. If it's not in Salesforce, it doesn't exist. And so the transition here is, you have an opportunity in Slack that, we post with the central record block. We can drive that process further. So opportunity deal closed one. Put a custom central button that says transition to CSM. They pop the form, they fill in that data, and they're always living in Slack. And normally that work would have happened, it just never would have been captured in Salesforce, right? And so we find that adoption is incredibly easy. Like Jasmine's team, they're Slack first. And so putting that, so that way Slack first is easy, and then Salesforce comes later for the source of truth.
How about with Einstein Best Actions? Are you guys ever using Salesforce to do that functionality and then shoot it into Slack? For someone who's maybe not in tune exactly what Salesforce does, you can say, okay, this is the possible solution.
Yeah, so as long as it's a record in Salesforce, like the next best action, we can push that and have that either post to the thread or the channel based on a schedule or the timing or record triggered flow. So for the admins in the house, we have an incredibly robust set of Salesforce flow elements that you can then use to post records and then even update Slack messages. So you can imagine, cases change, those statuses change. That original post is static. Well, let's get that updated to reflect the actual goings on of what's in Salesforce into Slack to make sure that everyone's up to date.
And then just to kind of keep you right example in my team, we have about 25 Salesforce users, grown-up folks. I adopted Central in I think 12 hours and did no training.
That's right.
8 months in Salesforce and I'm still training. So
Yeah.
There was a major gap of just quick adoption because it's just so intuitive.
For me, that's always an issue, is actually I have been tasked with training a lot of salespeople. They're actually doing sales, and it's just not their cup of tea, but they're like, they love Slack. Slack is simple, very easy, quick huddles, so just getting them to stay inside the product is amazing. It just makes your life easier, but then you get the data inside of Salesforce. And if it's not in Salesforce, yeah.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Oh, yes, sir.
What's the price of model?
Sure. So we have the two types of users, right? So for a standard user, like the agent type, it's $15 a month. And then for the Slack only user, it's $2 a month. So we really want to, do that benefit of you can do so much in Slack and get it into Salesforce and really drive that, that value. Well, thanks, everybody. Feel free to stop by and see you at lunch.